Around the 1970s, a Dutch astronomer named Christian Huygens discovered rings on the planet Saturn. But have you ever wondered how they got there? Rings are formed around planets when asteroids, comets, or any other large debris passes too close to the planets and are torn apart by planet's gravity. There is a point around the planet called a Roche limit. This is the point where gravity will tear apart an incoming object and prevent the particles from recreating back into a larger object. The debris then maintain their own orbit around the host planet, forming a ring. Essentially, rings are just thousands of tiny moonlets that orbit a planet and don't clump back into larger objects. They aren't just one solid ring. And you might be thinking, if the rings keep taking in more debris, are the rings growing? Does it have a limit? While the rings of planets are constantly taking in small moon and debris passing by, they are also releasing matter. Jupiter's rings are thin, faint, narrow, and dark. They are made up of tiny rock fragments and dust. We can't see Jupiter's rings because they're too dark to be visible. Saturn's rings are wide, bright, and colorful. They are made up of mostly ice with some rock and dust fragments. This means we are able to see them.
Uranus has dark, thin rings. They're made up of water and ice. There are 10 of them. Neptune's rings are dark with a few bright arcs. They're made up of dust and small rocks. Neptune's rings are hard to see as well because they're very dark. We can see some planetary rings and not others because they are made up of different things. As you can see, some planets have rings, but what about our very own planet Earth? Earth doesn't have rings because it isn't located in the Roche limit. Since Earth isn't located in the Roche limit, it cannot pick up or attract any debris that comes close to it, causing no ring to be able to form in the future. Earth did have rings in the past because of previous asteroid impacts and cometary flybys, but Earth's rings are now in the Moon. Earth doesn't currently have rings, but has had rings before. If Earth had rings, it would affect us in many ways. The shadow that the rings would cast would change the amount of sunlight locations usually get. Plants would have to learn to adapt to the lesser amount of sunlight. The rings would also be located right over the Earth's equator, which isn't very useful because that's the best spot to put satellites. Now we know how rings are formed, what they're made of, and where they are in our solar system. Maybe one day you'll look through a telescope and see a ring.